Donald Bright. As you know, we primarily get our funding from the sales tax, and it's taking it down a road spiral, and unfortunately, we may be continuing down that road. And it's really cut severely on the education, not only higher education, but lower education. And one of the things that I personally notice is that on every corner there seems to be a school, a small school. And the great thing about that is that you can literally walk your child to school. The bad thing about it is it seems to be that we're being very redundant. We've got all these superintendents, we've got all these principals, we've got all these janitors, and when I do see the school buses go by, it appears that they're only 1/4 filled. And so my question is this a good program? Because I understand that they've got the long-range plans, the 10, 20 years, how far out they're going to build schools and whatnot, but could there be some consideration about possibly building these schools on top of each other? Thank you.
Jose Solorio. I'm sorry, what do you mean by building the schools one on top of each other?
When I grew up, there was like 3 levels of schools, and they had several different grades, and it just seems like when you're building a school on every single corner, not only are you talking about the land that it costs to purchase and the building and the materials, but literally you're being redundant that you have to have X amount of principals, X amount of superintendents, and if you were to take these schools and compact them a little bit more and possibly put it on top of one another, in other words, 1, 2, 3 levels as opposed to a single level, it just seems to me that it could possibly save some money. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. When I was on the school board for 2 years, that was an issue that kept coming up. A smaller school, for example, an elementary school of 400 to 500 would be ideal. But we had some schools that had 1,300, 1,400 elementary students. And in none of our schools do I believe there's a second or a third story. And I think we're probably running out of time here. But you bring up a good point, because as the economy has slowed, we've actually decreased in students. Not by much, maybe 1% or so. But now the Clark County School District is looking at going 9 months at all schools, almost, versus some schools year-round. The reason for year-round is to fit more students at the school, and that was the #1 reason. But now that we have less students, we're almost able to have all schools at a 9-month schedule. I think that when we look at the future funding, I think we should look at that. We should look at can we make our schools more efficient? Can we serve more students at the same campus without making the learning environment worse? To me, it's all about the students, all about the environment, and all about operating efficiently. I guess that's where my MBA background comes in. I want to make sure that we're putting a certain amount of money into our education, that we're getting the right bang for the buck as far as meeting the students' needs. And again, I say meeting the community needs, because when you talk about education, you're not just talking about meeting the needs of individual students, you're also talking about, does this education system we have meet the needs of the community, our local businesses, for example, our universities. So good point, something to look at, especially in light of our economic situation. Jose Solorio.
Annie Wilson. That is something that could be looked at, because basically what you're stating is what school systems look like the university, where they're stacked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers. And that most likely will save a lot of funding. And you're right, the school buses a lot of times, they are not full, they're half full, and I know this. So one way to fix that problem is that maybe instead of one school bus picking up one group of kids, maybe they can have more than one bus stop where they pick up different kids, especially schools in the same area, the same location, that's within the same distance, maybe 5, 10 distance apart, 5 or 10 distance miles apart. Maybe that school bus driver can pick up those kids. That'll save on gas. That'll save a lot right there. I'm not looking at trying to get rid of, for someone to get rid of their job and not to lose their job, because I know with that comes job loss. So we're not looking at that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, but it will save a lot on funding. It will save the school district a lot of money. As far as the building that you mentioned earlier, yeah, you're right. The economy is really, really bad this time. People losing jobs all the time, every day. I see it every day. Every day at the City Hall, I see it every day. thing about it, that if we, maybe that's something we can look at in the future, maybe having schools like university, and that will save on land space, it'll save money, instead of going out, you go up. So I understand exactly what you're saying, and like I say, if I am selected for this position as your school board representative for District 2, that's something I will be looking at. And I've been working with all the different groups, like the Board of Regents, the PTA, the parents, the community, engaging everyone to get things started, to bridging the gap. It's a big hole. It's a big hole in our system. It needs to be fixed. And I would like to be the person to fix that for you. And I know I can do that. And I'm available 24/7. Anybody with my cell number or email address, I'm available 24/7 for you. Annie Wilson.